Mike Pulsipher worked in radio news for 40 years. Friends, family, and colleagues recently came together to remember Mike and some of the many highlights over his long career at places like KXOA, KFBK, KNX, CBS Radio, and of course, KCBS.
My name is Patty Rising, and I was Mike's co-anchor at KCBS Radio for many, many years. What I most remember about Mike, in what I think is one of his most defining qualities, is how much he loved being on the radio. He loved being a broadcaster. He loved everything about it.
Grand Central at the height of the morning rush. The city's subways come and go, taking on and letting off thousands of passengers.
Along with being on the radio, Mike also loved trains, something Big Brother Vince recalls started at an early age.
My brother could count in his bed the number of freight cars that clicked by our house.
Longtime friend Ellen Hyatt.
This picture of him was actually taken at big trees in Santa Cruz, in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And he got a chance to actually be a train engineer for a day. They purchased a gift for him, and he got to actually run the train for a day. And he was like a kid in a candy store. So this is this picture of him in front of the railroad crossing there.
You're listening to continuous election night coverage on KCBS, All News 74.
It's 11:05 at KCBS.
California Governor-elect Arnold Schwarzenegger declares victory in Los Angeles.
I will not fail you.
Large numbers of voters turned out to support the recall and elect Schwarzenegger as California's next governor.
Someone who really appreciated Mike's skill was KCBS News Director Ed Cavanero.
Mike was on the air when the Challenger crashed, exploded in the air. You go from doing a traffic report to a sunny weather report, and then the Challenger explodes. There's no training for that.
We have Buddy Nelson, our KCBS science and space expert, on the newsline now. Buddy, you were watching as the vehicle went into the air, and you could tell something was wrong. What happened?
There was a problem with one of the solid rocket boosters, and sure enough, about 45 seconds in, there was a major explosion.
Buddy, is there any chance at all? I mean, is that spacecraft equipped with anything in the way of parachutes or anything like that would help it get back into the water, or is it just on its own when something like this happens?
There are no ejection seats or anything like that.
Mike always seemed to be in the middle of the big story.
It was a terrible day when a guy named Luigi Ferri murdered 8 people in an office building in San Francisco, 101 California. And our studios were at One Embarcadero Center, facing south, 32nd floor. And Mike and Jan Black were on the air. This happened in an afternoon drive.
KCBS News Time 3:11. There is quite a bit of activity in San Francisco's financial district right now. There has been an incident of some type at the 101 California building. We have at least a dozen, maybe more police cars on the scene already, fire trucks. We also have ambulances. And we're getting more information on it now?
We are getting some more information. There is a sniper on the 34th floor of that building.
With all his stops along the way, he was especially proud to work at CBS Radio, where he met Roger Norham.
He came over to our house, and then he still didn't have anybody to around at Christmas time, so we had him over at Christmas, and it became sort of a family tradition in our family to have him over, and he was always well, as I'm sure many of you know, always be the life of the party with jokes and a sense of humor.
He was also a favorite of now KFBK anchor Ed Crane.
There was one day we had an anchor named Rob Armstrong, who was kind of a fastidious guy, and one of the desk assistants was sending out for food. And it was a fast food type joint. And I said, Rob, you want anything? And Rob said, my body is a temple. I won't eat that crap. And Mike said, my body is a temple too. A temple of doom. I'll have a double cheeseburger and fries.
A friend of mine died in Burlingame, California yesterday near San Francisco. And even if you weren't lucky enough to also know him personally, if you eat produce, Joe Carcione was also a friend of yours. Carcione was the green grocer, the man always ready to tell you what was good when it came to fruits and vegetables, or as he always said it, vegetables. I worked with Joe for a few years at KCBS Radio in San Francisco, and when it came to produce, it's hard to imagine anyone who could know more or be more enthusiastic than Joe.
It's no surprise that Mike had a fan club that included Clear Channel's Sebastian Kuntz.
I came to interview, and Ellen hired me, bless your heart. And I remember driving back to 580, I think it was finally to the windmills, before I actually said out loud, I'm going to be on the radio in San Francisco. I'm going to be Mike Pulsipher's competition.
We used to have this contest, and I knew this with other people, but we would name the CBS correspondents in different cities. We would have a contest, and he knew them all. He knew, Gabby Tabagnon, CBS knew Manila, very good, okay. We could do this forever. If Mike was here, he'd... Ronnie Hess. Paris. Anybody else? But that's how much he loved radio, and he... Huh? Winston Burdett, Rome, yeah.
Mike loved radio, politics, trains, but nothing more than his family. From all of us, Mike, thank you for giving us the gift of knowing you.
The Sacramento Fire Department, quoting reports received on its civil disaster radios, is saying the quake measured 5.8 on the Richter scale. Mike Pulsipher for CBS News, Sacramento.
In San Francisco, Mike Pulsipher, KNX 1070.
Mike Pulsipher for CBS News, Los Angeles.
Mike Pulsipher, CBS News, Indianapolis.
At the Century Plaza Hotel in Los Angeles, Mike Pulsipher, News 74, KCBS.
Mike Pulsipher, KCBS All News 74.